Baseball, a game that holds a very special place in the hearts of American sports fans. For more than a century, we've gone to see our heroes perform on the diamond, hoping to catch a glimpse of history. The players we will feature here did not only add their names to the record books, they wrote their own chapters in the story of our national pastime. What Babe Ruth meant to the game of baseball is exemplified by the mightiness of his home run swing. Everything about George Herman Ruth was big. He had a hefty physique. He hit monstrous homers, and he loved large post-game celebrations. But perhaps more than anything else, Babe's mere presence in the game gave the sport an identity that it sorely lacked, and he helped raise baseball to the level of popularity that it retains today. In a career spanning 3 decades, Ruth was the main attraction in the game, and not always because of his adeptness at the plate. Off the field, the Babe lived life in the fast lane, and his penchant for large quantities of food, drink, and women often made headlines. Yet the Bambino's legion of fans continued to grow, as did his home run totals, which added up to 714 for his career. Despite his reputation, Ruth was much more than just a powerful slugger. He was a .342 lifetime hitter, and he won 20 games twice as a pitcher for the Boston Red Sox prior to his Yankee glory years. The Sultan of Swat led the New Yorkers to 7 pennants before ending his playing days with the Boston Braves. After his retirement, Babe remained very much in the public eye before he was stricken with cancer. In 1948, Babe Ruth died at the age of 53, leaving behind a legacy as one of the most flamboyant figures in American history. As boisterous as Babe Ruth was, Lou Gehrig was just as quiet and unassuming, but he was no less of a baseball player. As Ruth's teammate with the Yankees for 12 years, Lou was one of the most talented and durable athletes ever. In his career, Gehrig hit nearly 500 home runs, batted .340, and teamed with Ruth to give the Yanks an awesome 1-2 punch on offense. Lou's combination of strength and stamina made him a deadly line drive hitter. And his hard work and determination helped him become a top-rate defensive first baseman. Gehrig's accomplishments on the field were often overshadowed by Ruth's exploits, but number 4 was never deterred. He was one of the leading home run and RBI men in the game, driving in an American League record 184 runs in 1931. But his most impressive achievement in baseball was the 2,130 consecutive games he played in, a record that took him 15 years to set. By 1939, the Iron Horse had become a living legend, but Lou was no match for what would befall him that season. Gehrig was diagnosed with a rare and fatal muscle disorder that currently bears his name. And in one of the more memorable and emotional moments in sports history, Lou said goodbye to baseball, claiming before a sellout Yankee Stadium crowd that he was the luckiest man alive. 2 years after his tearful farewell, Lou Gehrig died. He was just 37 years old. Even though his life was cut short at an early age, Gehrig's memory will live on as a man who gave his all to the sport he loved. Joe DiMaggio was the man chosen to carry on the tradition of Yankee greatness set forth by Ruth and Gehrig, and he fulfilled his duties beyond expectations. DiMaggio wore Yankee pinstripes for 16 years, and he performed with a style and grace unforeseen in any player before or since. There was no visible weakness in his game. He could hit for power and for average. He covered more ground than most outfielders of his era, and he made it all look easy. Joe joined the Yankees in 1936, and in his first 4 years in the Bronx, DiMaggio led the Bombers to 4 straight World Series titles. The following year, Joe hit in 56 straight games, a record that many feel will never be broken. Despite spending 3 years in the military during World War II, number 5 was still one of the most popular players in the sport, and on the field, he barely lost a step. Even before Big D handed in his uniform, he would bring 10 world championships to the Big Apple, along with 3 league MVP awards to adorn his own trophy case. This Hall of Famer played his last game in 1951, and as a testament to his talent, he was voted baseball's greatest living player nearly 2 decades later. Joe DiMaggio, a one-of-a-kind sports hero. Ted Williams was a DiMaggio contemporary and a bit more outspoken than his Yankee rival. Williams once said that he wanted to be remembered as baseball's greatest hitter. Based on what he achieved in his career with the Boston Red Sox, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone better. 6 American League batting titles, 4 home run crowns, and 2 Most Valuable Player awards for the game's last 400 hitter. After 3 years in the minors and a brief stint as a pitcher, Williams came to Boston in 1939. Ted was brewing with confidence, and the youngster backed up his big words with a big bat, hitting .327 and leading the junior circuit in RBIs. In 1941, Williams was batting .400 going into a season-ending doubleheader. Instead of sitting out both games to preserve his average, Ted played the entire twin bill, going 6 for 8 to finish the year at .406, the last time a major leaguer has reached that milestone. Despite his special skills, Williams was not without his critics. He often found himself at odds with the media, the fans, and even his own teammates. But no one could question his ability to hit a baseball. He won his first batting championship at age 23, his last at age 39. And in 1960, he marked a fitting end to his playing career by hitting a home run in his last at-bat. They called him the Splendid Splinter, the Thumper, and the Kid. As far as Ted Williams is concerned, call him the game's greatest hitter ever. When it came to hitting, Stan Musial was the National League's version of Ted Williams. Stan the Man won 7 league batting crowns in his 2+ decades with the St. Louis Cardinals, and he also won the admiration of baseball fans everywhere with his happy-go-lucky attitude toward the game. A strange twist of fate led Musial to the majors in 1941. A year earlier, Stan was touted as a talented pitching prospect, but a shoulder injury forced him to move to the outfield. He joined the Cardinal roster late in the '41 season and stayed with the Redbirds until his playing days were over. Stan's unusual batting stance became his calling card, and it helped him to a .331 lifetime average and a place in the illustrious 3,000 hit club. Musial's offensive game was also the catalyst for 2 World Series championships in St. Louis. Number 6's greatest single season came in 1948 when he won his second of 3 MVP trophies. He led the league in virtually every hitting category, including RBIs and batting average, and if not for a rainout, he would have been the league's home run king. Stan's love affair with Cardinal fans was truly a special one, and in appreciation of Musial's dedication to the team, a statue was erected of him outside Busch Stadium. Stan Musial, a superstar in all facets of the game. While Joltin' Joe, Terrible Ted, and Stan the Man were pounding opposing pitchers, Rapid Robert was baffling opposing hitters. Bob Feller's charming smile belied his devilish array of pitches, ranging from a clever curveball to a powerful fastball. Feller's baseball talents matured so early that the Cleveland Indians signed him away from his Iowa home when he was just 16. A year later, he struck out 8 St. Louis Cardinals in 3 innings of an exhibition game, enough to prompt Cards player-manager Frankie Frisch to pull himself from the lineup. Bob's performance earned him a spot on the Indians roster, and he quickly became the premier pitcher of the war era. He tossed 3 no-hitters during his career and helped the Tribe win the World Series in 1948. He was also one of the biggest attractions in the game, with fans coming from miles around to see number 19 fire his trademark fastball, which was once clocked at nearly 100 miles per hour. Before he hung up his spikes in 1956, Feller established himself as one of the greatest strikeout pitchers in big league history, assuring his place in the halls of Cooperstown. Jackie Robinson's presence among baseball's all-time greats is as much a credit to his courage and resilience as it is to his individual accomplishments on the field. Jackie was the first black man to play Major League Baseball, and to achieve what he did with the Brooklyn Dodgers is worthy of legendary acclaim. The year is 1947, and Robinson is coming off an MVP season with the Dodgers' top minor league team in Montreal. Jackie begins the year in Brooklyn and withstands countless acts of racial abuse from players and fans alike. Despite the hardships, he wins Rookie of the Year honors for the pennant-winning Dodgers. In 1949, Robinson proves his staying power by capturing the batting title and the National League MVP award as the abusers fall silent. Jackie's 1949 season gives fans a strong indication of his well-rounded athletic abilities. A former 4-sports star at UCLA, Robinson had a keen batting eye to go along with a solid glove at both second and first base. The most exciting aspect of Jackie's game was his base running, as shown by his electrifying steal of home in the 1955 World Series. When Jackie Robinson retired from baseball, he had earned nationwide respect, not just as a great player, but as a heroic person in the fight for human equality. Roy Campanella was Jackie's teammate on the great Dodger teams of the post-war era, and he was a stellar performer behind the plate. Campy played 10 seasons in Brooklyn, helping the Bums win 5 league pennants and a World Series crown. Roy was also a 3-time MVP and one of the toughest competitors the game has ever seen. Campanella joined the Dodgers in 1948 as a 26-year-old rookie, but his professional baseball career was already more than a decade old. Roy quit school to play in the Negro Leagues at the tender age of 15. Having already competed against such greats as Josh Gibson and Satchel Paige, Campy came to the big leagues with plenty of baseball experience, and he teamed with Dodger greats Gil Hodges, Duke Snider, and Carl Furillo to give Brooklyn one of the most feared lineups in the senior circuit. As a catcher, few could match Roy's throwing arm or his handling of pitchers. As a hitter, Campy posted impressive numbers, good enough to win him 3 Most Valuable Player trophies. Following the 1957 campaign, the team announced that they would be moving to Los Angeles. Unfortunately, Roy never got the chance to play on the West Coast. In January of 1958, Campy's career was ended by a car accident which left him paralyzed. Despite his handicap, Roy Campanella never lost his zest for life or his love for baseball, and he carried these sentiments with him until his death in 1993. Willie Mays was determined to be better than anyone else in all aspects of the game. He wanted to be a great home run hitter, and he was, smashing 660 of them in his career with the Giants and Mets. Willie wanted to be a great base runner, and he was dazzling on the base paths. He also wanted to be a standout defensive player, and his miracle catches left fans clamoring for more. Pound for pound, skill for skill, Mays was the most exciting player of his era, and perhaps the greatest there ever was. Willie played over 2 decades in the majors, winning over millions of baseball followers with his feats of greatness on the diamond. The game didn't always come easy to the say-hey kid. In 1951, Mays went a meager 1 for 26 in his big league debut. But after a show of support from his manager Leo Durocher, Willie got back on track and was named the National League's Rookie of the Year. 3 years later, Mays was an MVP for the first time and leading the New York Giants to a sweep of Cleveland in the Fall Classic. When the Giants moved to San Francisco in 1958, Willie continued to post record-breaking numbers, hitting a career-high .347 in his first year by the Bay. Mays led the Giants to another league pennant out west, and he added a second MVP trophy in 1965, smashing 52 homers, another personal best. In 1972, Willie returned to New York to play for the Mets, where he finished out an amazing career. Willie Mays, one of baseball's most thrilling performers. When you talk about Mickey Mantle, you're bound to mention his home runs. Not necessarily how many he hit, but how far they went. It wasn't uncommon for Mickey to blast a ball over 500 feet, giving new meaning to the term tape measure job. Mantle's home run prowess made him one of baseball's most dangerous hitters and helped his New York Yankees dominate the sport as they had for the previous quarter of the century. With a powerful swing equally effective from both sides of the plate, Mickey compiled 536 homers in his years in pinstripes, leading the Yankees to an astonishing 12 American League pennants and 7 World Championships. Mantle's arrival in the Bronx in 1951 coincided with the departure of the great Joe DiMaggio. And even though he had to fill those big shoes in the Yankee lineup, Mickey was up to the task. Manager Casey Stengel made Mantle his everyday center fielder the following season, and Mickey responded by hitting 20-plus home runs and hitting well over 300. It wasn't long before number 7 became a favorite among Yankee fans with his awesome power. As the Yanks reigned supreme in the 1950s, Mantle reaped the benefits, capturing a Triple Crown in 1956, leading the American League in homers, RBIs, and batting average. By the early 1960s, time began to take its toll on Mickey. After hitting 54 homers in 1961, Mantle was beset by injuries, but he continued to fight in order to play the game he loved so dearly. In 1969, the Mick decided to call it quits, leaving behind stories of pennant races and mammoth home runs. The ultimate question for New York baseball fans in the 1950s was, who's the best player, Mays, Mantle, or Duke Snider? The throngs at Ebbets Field wouldn't have traded their Duke for either one of the other two, and not just because he was a Dodger. Snider was the primary slugger for Brooklyn's Boys of Summer, the teams that stood above the rest in the National League in the 1950s. Duke's game was versatile and polished. He hit 40 or more home runs 5 years in a row, and he batted 300 or better 7 times. On defense, no one patrolled the center field grass quite like number 4. In Brooklyn, the Duke of Flatbush was a vital cog in the Dodgers' 3 NL pennants during the 50s, and his 42 homers and league-leading 136 runs batted in were a key factor in Brooklyn's 1955 drive to the world title. Snider would once again enjoy the spoils of a champion. In 1959, Duke helped the Dodgers, who had now moved to Los Angeles, win another World Series as they defeated the Chicago White Sox in 6 games. Duke Snider, a superstar Hall of Famer. He had one of the quickest bats in baseball, quick enough to make him the game's greatest home run hitter, Henry Aaron. Aaron was a veteran of 23 major league seasons, and he established himself as one of baseball's most complete players. Aaron hit .305 lifetime, and he amassed almost 3,800 career hits. His defensive play in right field was top-notch, and his willingness to sacrifice individual goals for the good of the team made him a popular figure among his teammates. Henry broke in with the Milwaukee Braves in 1954. 3 years later, he was the National League MVP, and he played an essential role in the Braves' upset victory over the mighty New York Yankees in the World Series. When Henry's team moved to Atlanta in the mid-1960s, number 44 adjusted quickly, and it didn't take long for Aaron to win over the Georgia fans. After settling down in his new surroundings, Henry set out to hit home runs, posting a career-high 47 of them in 1971. By 1974, Aaron was the subject of tremendous media attention as he pursued Babe Ruth's all-time record of 714 home runs. Henry broke the record in Atlanta before a national television audience, and his place in baseball folklore was firmly secured. Yogi Berra was known as much for his unique interpretation of the English language as he was for his clutch play with the New York Yankees. Berra's famous quips include, "It ain't over till it's over," and "You can observe a lot by watching." While Yogi was a post-game interviewer's dream, he was an opposing pitcher's nightmare. Berra was the prototype bad ball hitter. He would swing at anything he could get his bat on, and he would make it count when it mattered most. Berra came to New York as both a catcher and an outfielder in 1947, and he became a fixture behind the plate 2 years later. Yogi handled the great Yankee pitching staffs of the 1950s with poise and savvy. In fact, Berra caught Don Larson's perfect game in the 1956 World Series, another big-time performance from this big-time Hall of Famer. The baseball career of Sandy Koufax is a tale of 2 pitchers. In the first half of his major league career, Sandy was no more than an average hurler. But in the second half, this Dodger left-hander emerged as a pitcher of superstar proportions. The accomplishments speak for themselves. 3 Cy Young Awards, 4 no-hitters, strikeout leader 4 times, and National League MVP in 1963. What makes all this even more astounding is that Koufax earned all of these titles and honors in just 6 years' time. Sandy fulfilled a childhood dream when he signed with the Brooklyn Dodgers, his hometown team, in 1955. The 20-year-old was a hard thrower with lots of talent, but little control of his pitches. For 6 long years, Sandy labored on the Dodger pitching staff, winning no more than 11 games in any one season. Then, during spring training in 1961, Koufax chose to follow the advice of catcher Norm Sherry, who suggested that Sandy throw the ball easier to help tame his wildness. The plan worked, and Koufax won 18 games that year, the first of 6 stellar campaigns for the Southpaw. Sandy's overpowering fastball was the major factor in his success, and he used it to lead the Dodgers to world championships in 1963 and 1965. While LA was flying high during this time, Koufax began to struggle with a painful form of arthritis in his pitching elbow. After the 1966 season, Sandy Koufax shocked the baseball world when he retired from the game rather than risk permanent injury to his arm. The time at number 32 spent in the baseball limelight was short, but it was enough to earn him a place in the Hall of Fame as one of the greatest pitchers of all time. Sandy Koufax, a Dodger dominator and an unstoppable force on the mound. The game of baseball was played on a supreme level by the athletes highlighted here. Their performances on the field have left an indelible mark on American sports, and their stories are worthy of sharing for generations to come. Thanks for watching.